The island of Manhattan, a vibrant hub of global commerce and culture today, was once a very different place. Its towering skyscrapers and bustling streets stand in stark contrast to the serene landscapes that existed here centuries ago. Long before the arrival of Europeans, it was home to the Lenape people. The Lenape, a group of Native American tribes, had a rich and complex society that thrived on the island for thousands of years. They knew the island as Mannahatta, the island of many hills. This name reflected the island's diverse topography, which included rolling hills, lush forests, and pristine waterways. The Lenape lived in harmony with nature, relying on the island's abundant resources for sustenance and survival. They had a deep understanding of the land and its ecosystems, which allowed them to thrive in this environment. They were skilled hunters, fishermen, and farmers. The Lenape hunted deer, bear, and other game, fished in the rivers, and gathered wild plants and berries. They cultivated crops like corn, beans, and squash, known as the Three Sisters, which were staples of their diet. These crops were grown together in a symbiotic relationship that benefited all three plants. Supplementing their diet with fish from the surrounding rivers and game from the island's forests, the Lenape maintained a balanced and sustainable way of life. The rivers teemed with fish, and the forests were rich with wildlife. Their lives were deeply intertwined with the natural world, their traditions and beliefs reflecting a deep respect for the land and its rhythms. They held ceremonies and rituals to honor the spirits of the earth, water, and sky. The Lenape lived in villages scattered across the island, their homes built from the bark of trees. These homes, known as wigwams, were sturdy and well-suited to the local climate. Their society was structured around kinship and community, with a strong oral tradition that preserved their history, legends, and knowledge. Storytelling was a vital part of their culture, passing down wisdom from generation to generation. They were a resilient people, their lives shaped by the changing seasons and the ebb and flow of life on Mannahatta. Each season brought different activities and challenges, from planting and harvesting to hunting and fishing. The arrival of Europeans in the 16th century would forever alter the course of their history and the fate of their beloved Mannahatta. The Lenape initially engaged in trade with the newcomers, exchanging furs and other goods. The encounter would mark the beginning of a new chapter, one that would see the island transformed into a global metropolis. Over time, the Lenape were displaced from their homeland, and the landscape of Mannahatta was irrevocably changed. But the legacy of the Lenape, the original inhabitants of this vibrant island, would endure, woven into the very fabric of New York City. Today, their influence can still be seen in place names, cultural exhibits, and the enduring respect for the natural world that they championed. In the early 17th century, European powers were eager to establish themselves in the New World. The promise of untapped resources and new trade routes spurred a race across the Atlantic, with each nation vying for a piece of the vast uncharted territories. The Dutch, known for their seafaring prowess and commercial acumen, were among the first to lay claim to the land that would become New York City. Their expertise in navigation and trade made them formidable competitors in the quest for dominance in the New World. In 1624, the Dutch West India Company established a trading post on the southern tip of Manhattan Island. This strategic location was chosen for its access to the Hudson River and the Atlantic Ocean, making it an ideal spot for trade and defense. The settlement, christened New Amsterdam, was a bustling hub of commerce. Ships from Europe and other colonies docked at its ports, bringing goods and people from all over the world. The streets were filled with merchants, traders, and settlers, all eager to make their fortunes in this new land. The Dutch were eager to capitalize on the lucrative fur trade with the Native Americans. They established strong trading relationships with various tribes, exchanging European goods for beaver pelts and other furs, which were highly prized in European markets. These furs were in high demand back in Europe, where they were used to make fashionable hats and garments. The fur trade quickly became the backbone of New Amsterdam's economy, driving its growth and prosperity. New Amsterdam quickly became a melting pot of cultures. People from various backgrounds and nationalities settled in the colony, bringing with them their customs, languages, and traditions. This diversity became one of the defining characteristics of the settlement. Dutch settlers rubbed shoulders with Africans, both free and enslaved, English colonists and Native Americans. This mix of cultures and peoples created a vibrant and dynamic community where different traditions and ways of life coexisted and influenced each other. The Dutch West India Company, eager to attract settlers to their fledgling colony, offered generous land grants to those willing to make the journey across the Atlantic. These grants were a significant incentive, promising land and opportunity to those brave enough to venture into the unknown. This policy, known as the patroon system, led to the establishment of large estates along the Hudson River. Wealthy individuals known as patroons were granted vast tracts of land in exchange for bringing settlers to the colony and developing the land. Life in early New Amsterdam was often challenging. The threat of disease, conflict with Native Americans, and the harsh realities of frontier life tested the mettle of the early settlers. They had to be resilient and resourceful to survive and thrive in this new environment. Despite these hardships, the settlers persevered. They built homes, farms, and businesses, creating a thriving community in the heart of the New World. Their determination and hard work laid the foundation for the future growth and success of New Amsterdam. But despite these hardships, New Amsterdam flourished. Its strategic location and thriving fur trade laying the foundation for its future growth. The settlement grew rapidly, attracting more settlers and becoming an important center of trade and commerce in the New World. The strategic location of New Amsterdam, at the mouth of the Hudson River, made it a key trading hub. The fur trade continued to drive its economy, but other industries also began to develop, including agriculture, manufacturing, and shipping. This economic diversity helped to ensure the long-term success and stability of the colony. The Dutch hold on New Amsterdam was short-lived. Despite their initial success in establishing a thriving colony, their control was destined to be fleeting. In 1664, English warships sailed into New Amsterdam harbor and demanded the surrender of the Dutch colony. The sight of the imposing English fleet must have been a daunting one for the Dutch settlers. The Dutch, outnumbered and outgunned, reluctantly ceded control to the English. The transfer of power was swift and decisive, marking the end of Dutch rule in the region. New Amsterdam was renamed New York in honor of the Duke of York, brother of King Charles II. This renaming was not just a change of name, but a signal of the new era that was about to begin. The English takeover ushered in a new era for the city. The streets of New York began to reflect the influence of English architecture and urban planning. Under English rule, New York became a crown colony. This new status brought with it a different administrative structure and new opportunities for growth and development. The city's economy diversified, expanding beyond the fur trade to encompass shipping, shipbuilding, and agriculture. These industries laid the foundation for New York's future economic prowess. The English, eager to solidify their control over their newly acquired colony, implemented policies to encourage English settlement and culture. They offered incentives for English settlers to move to New York, bringing with them their customs and traditions. The Dutch influence, however, did not disappear overnight. The Dutch settlers who remained continued to practice their customs and traditions, blending them with the new English ways. Many Dutch customs and traditions persisted, leaving an enduring mark on the city's cultural landscape. Even today, the Dutch heritage can be seen in various cultural festivals and architectural styles throughout New York. The legacy of Dutch tolerance and entrepreneurship would continue to shape the city's character in the centuries to come. The Dutch had established a tradition of religious and cultural tolerance that the English would build upon. New York's strategic location, with its natural harbor and access to inland waterways, made it a prime location for trade. The harbor became a bustling hub of activity, with ships arriving from and departing to all corners of the world. The city's population swelled as merchants, artisans, and laborers flocked to its shores, seeking opportunity and a new life. The promise of prosperity and freedom attracted people from diverse backgrounds, contributing to the city's rich cultural tapestry. By the eve of the American Revolution, New York had become a thriving port city, its streets teeming with the energy and ambition of a young nation on the brink of independence. The city's growth and dynamism set the stage for its pivotal role in the upcoming struggle for freedom. The American Revolution had a profound impact on New York City. The city became a central battleground in the fight for independence. New Yorkers were divided in their loyalties. Some sided with the Patriots, who sought independence from British rule. Others remained loyal to the Crown, fearing the uncertainty of revolution. In 1776, British forces led by General William Howe captured New York City after the Continental Army's defeat in the Battle of Brooklyn. The city remained under British occupation for the duration of the war, serving as a base of operations for the British Army. The occupation was a tumultuous period for New Yorkers. The city was ravaged by fire, and its inhabitants endured food shortages and military rule. Despite the hardships, the spirit of resistance never wavered. New Yorkers formed clandestine networks to support the Patriot cause, providing intelligence and supplies to the Continental Army. After the British defeat at Yorktown in 1781, New York City was the last British stronghold to be evacuated. On November 25, 1783, General George Washington triumphantly led the Continental Army into the city, marking the end of British rule and the birth of a new nation. New York City, scarred but unbowed, was poised to play a pivotal role in the newly formed United States of America.